Dear beautiful people, today I want to talk about something that for many who have the human experience is subjectively often quite challenging to handle, and this is the end of relationships. Well, the question is, why do relationships end, or do they actually ever end? This is something I will try to answer in this video. Well, in order to have a shared experience, we need to have a similar belief. You can see, for example, that people who believe in a certain political idea or in a religious idea often enter group experience, so they co-create an experience together and share relationship within that co-created experience. So, for example, if a group of Christians goes to church on Sunday, they co-create the moment of experiencing, let's say, the Mass together on that day and enter a relationship with each other. Now, this has to do with our energy signature, because every one of us is emitting a frequency that is, first of all, unique, but at the same time has common ground with certain experiences. So obviously, if you do not believe in Christianity in that sense, the way that it is taught, you won't find it appealing to enter a church, so therefore you do not attract that experience, and those type of relationships are not happening. So when you understand then that frequencies are dimensions of experience, then you will begin to understand that not every frequency we can receive, because we might not be a match to that frequency. In that sense, there might be someone living across the street, but you never have a conversation and you never share a direct experience because your frequencies are not a match. So even though it might only be 20 or 30 meters, it might appear that being lives in a completely different universe than you do. So, to understand frequencies of experience, I give you a very simple example. When we started developing communication equipment, at first we had the telegraph, at some point we had the telephone, then we had radio, at some point black and white TV, then we had color TV, and now we have, for example, three-dimensional video games, which are, in that sense, a matrix of their own, where you have an avatar, but you're just conscious of the fact that, well, you have an avatar and you're having this different dimensional experience, and it is a frequency that you're then open to receiving, right? But if you don't have the hardware, so to speak, this frequency might not be accessible to you. So, for example, someone who does not meditate and does not practice certain forms of yoga cannot receive certain levels of frequency because they're not a match to it. Well, if we change our bodies through yoga and meditation, our frequency increases. And then we go through a shift of consciousness where deeper layers of intelligence are accessible for us. Now, if you're in a relationship, for example, let's say in a romantic relationship or in a business relationship, and you share a certain subjective reality, let's say you go through a frequency shift. That means your consciousness is expanding. And now the gap between your frequencies is increasing. So in order to share an experience, you either need to limit your energy, or that other being, let's say, can make a choice to be inspired, for example, and shift, yes, through their own individual experience to match your frequency. So they're also expanding in consciousness, so then you can keep sharing a manifestation bubble. But let's say, if someone has a fearful belief, they're not in a state of love, they are strongly identified with a certain idea of themselves. And again, any self-concept is an illusion, because when you think about yourself, well, the thought about yourself is not yourself. So it is an illusion. It is a reduction of who you think you are. So if you believe, for example, to be a powerless being, and now someone has a spiritual experience and they're shifting to a higher frequency, your very identity will feel intimidated and threatened by the one who speaks of deeper experiences beyond the ego, because, well, if you think you're the ego, you feel endangered. So then, to maintain this relationship, either way, the one who has the deeper spiritual experience needs to lower their frequency. That means they need to be inauthentic and insincere. They need to stop speaking truth to you, right? So in that sense, they're in denial of themselves. they're lowering their energy, and now they keep having an experience with you, and this will be a dysfunctional one. Or they stay authentic, and now you have a choice. For example, you can reject them and stay on your frequency, or you can get inspired and join them. And this, of course, also happens in reverse. That means if you go through a shift in consciousness and your frequency is expanding, someone else might also struggle to maintain a relationship with you. And this is the reason why relationships do end. Romantic relationships, relationships in families, because when you are authentic with your experience, others might struggle to relate to you because they cannot enter that frequency yet, and it appears outright alien to them. We see this in modern society when beings have spiritual experience and they're suddenly being looked at as if they were psychotic and as if they were losing their minds. Well, yes, they are losing their minds because they're going beyond their mind, and this is called awakening. So then, when we understand then that there are frequency shifts, that we all evolve at different paces, that the rates at which we move are different, but also that the directions in which we move are individual choices, then we understand that every subjective experience is valid. When you experience a deeper frequency of intelligence, it does not invalidate the experience of someone who experiences a lower frequency. This is important. Because when relationships end, that means you stop sharing a manifestation bubble because you cannot lower your energy any further and someone might not be able to increase their energy to match yours. You shift into different experiences, and experience together just doesn't happen anymore. Well, it is important to understand that there's nothing wrong about you. There's nothing wrong about the being who chooses to be in a different experience, because that is preference. And when you allow this preference, you can let go of any ideas of guilt or blame and any ideas of comparison. You don't need to make yourself right, and you also don't need to make someone else wrong. So when you understand this, you can more easily let go of relationships when you have an energy shift. Because in order to be authentic with yourself, you cannot limit your energy frequency. This is important that this happens in society as a whole, that we're authentic with our experience, because more and more people will get inspired, and there will be a shift in consciousness in humanity as a result of this inspiration. But it can never come from a position of righteousness and judgment. I want to make this very, very clear. Now, do we then actually lose relationships? Well, we are all timeless beings. It's just currently you have the illusion of a space-time experience. You have the illusion of a physical experience. So therefore you think you can gain and lose relationships. But beyond time, you're always in a relationship with everything that is. So just within this simulation of a space-time experience, you are under the oppression of losing someone. But you just lose contact to their peripheral self that isn't even real. It's just their subjective self that is on the surface, that is a creative expression of the timeless self. You can never lose connection with the timeless self, because everyone within that timeless self is also you. You cannot not be in a relationship with yourself. You can only be under the illusion, under the impression that you're currently not in a relationship with a part of yourself. So that is perfectly fine. So when you understand that everything is temporary here, and that we have an impermanent experience here, you can forgive, let's say, your friends, and forgive yourself when relationships go into different directions. So therefore you do not share a manifestation bubble anymore. In what other situations are frequencies important? Well, when you increase in frequencies through meditation and yoga, at some point you might start channeling deeper levels of intelligence. First of all, of yourself, that means of other bits of you that exist in other dimensional experiences, or of spiritual beings who might convey knowledge to you. And in order to, let's say, share a channel with them, you need to increase in frequency, and they need to lower their frequency a little bit, so you meet halfway. For you, it might cost a little bit of effort to maintain this channel, because to maintain this channel you temporarily need to increase your energy. And this is how many mediums work. they get into a meditative state, they increase their frequency, they become a match to the channel, and now they can begin channeling. So, in order to have an experience with whatever, you need to share a frequency band. This is very important for spiritual experiences, because through the modification of your nervous system, through the transformation of traumatic experience, through healing, through letting go of pain, through forgiveness, and through entering more and more a state of love, your frequency increases, and now you're able to receive, you're able to become a channel for higher intelligence. And this is the spiritual path. Contemplate about that. Be well.